Good afternoon and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Excited to have over 320 registered attendees for today's webinar, which is eligible for 1 credit from the ACI. Let's get started by giving one lucky attendee a Webinar Wednesday t-shirt for answering this trivia question. Today's sponsor, Prompt Technologies, is headquartered in Hawaii. Which famous movie series directed by Steven Spielberg was filmed in Hawaii? Answer now. Your questions feature on your dashboard. While you're answering, I want to invite everyone to save the date for next year for 2 of our expos. First, for our ICE Imaging Expo, which takes place at the Hilton Scottsdale Resort in Scottsdale, Arizona, from February the 9th to the 11th, which will bring imaging service professionals from across the nation for 3 days of learning, networking, and the latest advances in imaging. Registration is now open, and more details can be found at attendice.com. Also, our Spring MD Expo will be taking place at the Hotel Irvine, California from April the 20th to the 22nd. More details can be found at mdexposhow.com. Okay, and let's see who the winner of our Webinar Wednesday t-shirt is, and it is Jeanette Thielen. Congratulations, Jeanette, because the correct answer is Jurassic Park. Webinar Wednesday would like to sponsor Prompt Technologies. Prompt Technologies was founded in 2004. Their mission is to manufacture biomedical test equipment that helps to make biomedical engineers' jobs easier and more efficient. They provide products that are innovative, portable, rugged, reliable, and easy to use, and made in the USA. Learn more at prompttech.com. Our presenter today is Julio Castro, Regional Sales Director for Prompt Technologies. Julio, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend the Webinar Wednesday. Thank you, Tech Nation and Linda, for sponsoring, for putting this together. We Prompt want to put together educational presentations we think will benefit the community, and today we're going to talk about something related to preventative maintenance and some new technology out there that we've created to wirelessly connect your test equipment to your CMMS and to be able to generate electronic records to make our workload a little bit more efficient, a little bit easier. So we want to talk about a variety of subjects today, and what we're going to do here, if I can get the screen to work, is we're going to talk about the various challenges that we have in being able to complete the preventative maintenance, the collection of electronic test reports or not. Is it important? Is it beneficial? Talk about the benefits of automation and electronic records and how it can help us. Advantages of actually having CMMS and connecting to that database so I can have my records and my reports and have my procedures available to me. And then being able to streamline and capture results, even maybe when I don't have a CMMS, or maybe a CMMS that doesn't have capabilities that I need to be able to be as efficient as possible. So, of course, there's some real big challenges in completing PM and service in our industry, as you know. There's thousands of devices that require management, including scheduled work, unscheduled work, such as preventative maintenance scheduled. You have repairs that need to be done. You have product updates that need to be completed on a wide range of devices. So it's a tremendous amount of responsibility in the volume of equipment that has to be maintained. Can be quite overwhelming. That, and you combine that with the shortage of HTM professionals there are in our industry. You know, we have a shortage, as you probably well know, and that adds added stress and complexities to being able to manage the growing inventory of equipment, maybe with a shorter staff of people to be able to accomplish it. So that makes our work even more challenging. And then you have best practices. What are the best practices that I should be utilizing when I'm performing the service? What are the procedures I should be using? Am I following the manufacturer's procedures? Do I have an alternative equipment maintenance program in place for a particular device? You know, how am I best guided to know how best to perform the service? And then how do I document what I've done on that piece of equipment? What service information should be recorded? Do I record it all? Do I only record whether it passed or failed? All these things are important to have well defined so that I'm doing the best job I can when completing my work. And then you also want to be sure that you're compliant to your standards for your particular facility. If you're compliant to a particular quality system, or maybe government agencies doing your audits, and you want to make sure you're compliant to their requirements. So you want to make sure that you have all this in place so that you're performing service utilizing the right standards and the best practices possible. So of course we have all these challenges, and how do we bridge these gaps? We think that there's a couple ways we could try to really do this. Number one, of course, is always training and being able to have the information on an on-the-job kind of training program, training from the manufacturer on particular devices. So training on a wide variety of levels. And I remember back when I used to be a technician and I was being trained to go out into the field, and how valuable it was to me to have senior engineers available that would really take me under their wing and train me not only on best practices on how to approach troubleshooting a particular device, but going as far as how to manage your customers, how to approach them, how to communicate with them, how to try to understand root cause and get to the root cause when you're dealing with clinicians who maybe aren't as technical as maybe one of us are, and how to approach it and how to manage a situation that maybe requires a little bit of time to get the unit repaired. And of course, they're under pressures themselves, and all these sorts of skill sets, have to be learned over time. And being able to rely on your training and being able to rely on your senior engineers to mentor your entry-level engineers can really make a big difference in being able to get up to speed and have that confidence to be able to perform service in our ever-changing healthcare industry, as you know. So having a good, strong mentorship program, I really think and really believe is really key, one of the key things in establishing good way to bridge the gap in terms of the problem we have with the shortage of technical engineers in our industry. Being able to create and establish standardized procedures. I know this is definitely a couple of different schools of thought here, but being able to have established procedures that are available to me to know on a particular device, maybe by model type, maybe as far down as serial number, but having a good footprint, a good blueprint on how I should be performing the service can really help me be efficient as possible and feel confident that I'm doing the work properly. And I think it's also important to look at the test equipment, look at advanced test equipment, because it could really be a helpful tool to help ensure consistency in the service. And it also is a good method, when done well, to be able to capture your test results for all of your devices service. So it helps you to be able to perform the service as precisely as you can, and allows you to capture the information without having to do too much extra work. So we think it's important to invest in tools that help support the future in this regard, trying to get away from manually recording information, or maybe you're not recording any information at all, to looking at solutions that help you kind of streamline that. So you really want to look at your test equipment, looking for advanced solutions to help standardize the testing protocols that you can perform on a particular device, being able to set your pass-fail thresholds, your test limits, and of course, being able to generate and keep the records in a seamless electronic way. You also want the equipment to provide you the flexibility to customize it, to be able to set the the automation testing to meet your standards and your protocols. So it needs to be able to kind of conform to how you need to be able to use it. Not that you have to kind of conform to what the test equipment can do, but more that it's going to be a tool that you can set up the way you need it to. And of course, you want to have the flexibility to know that the test equipment is there to be able to collect the data. And what can I do with this data? Can I store it? I want to be able to store this information. I want to be able to transfer it. I want to have different methods to be able to transfer the information. I want the technology to provide alternate methods in cases where maybe I don't have a CMMS system, but I still want to have the ability to move the information around. So I need to have various methods to be able to move information so that I can get it to the location I need to, be it my computer, my CMS, a spreadsheet. Maybe I'm using a template to perform my service, and I want to be able to get the information over to that in a number of different ways. So there's definitely a couple schools of thought here in terms of, do I need to collect the information, the data, my test result data, and is it beneficial? And is automation beneficial? There's a wide range of ideas behind this, and there's some organizations that believe that it's important to just do a pass-fail on the device. It passed the test. I know it's good enough to go back into service. I'm going to put it back up on the floor, and that's fine. And then there's other organizations that believe having electronic records could be beneficial. And we think there's definitely something there that should be considered, because automation and data collection electronically really provides some benefits to aid the technician. And it establishes a consistent test process that can be utilized throughout the whole group. So you don't have to be concerned about technician A having one method of doing the testing, technician B having a second, and having variability in there that could have some gaps and cause inconsistencies when you're doing the service. And at the same time, by having a consistent test process, it helps me kind of get into a good workflow. If I know here's my process, I know what it is, it kind of gives me my game plan. I know exactly what I need to do and how to do it, and it allows me to be more efficient. And so I can really cut down the time it takes me to complete that PM. So it allows me to focus really on what I am really capable and my talents being utilized to really focus on maintaining that medical device, performing that PM, doing that repair, allowing me to really spend quality time looking at the device, doing all of the testing necessary, verifying its functionality, verifying it's within specification. Do I see any anomalies? Do I see any intermittent performance of the device that would put in question its reliability? So all these things can be done, but if you're able to focus on what we're really trained to do, which is do the repair, do the service, and being able to avoid having to spend excess time trying to recall, well, what is that procedure on this device? What should I do? Where's my procedure? Trying to locate it, trying to locate that service manual. So it allows me to really focus on what I'm really skilled to do, which is actually focusing on doing that repair, that service on that medical device. And detailed records provide greater confidence in the service work that I did. I have a complete report here. It gives me the ability to confidently talk to the end user about, look, here's the steps I took to verify performance of your device, to verify that service was done completely. I feel confident that the unit is working properly. So it gives me as a technician, me as an organization, confidence in the ability to speak to my end users of the work that was done. I think it also improves accreditation compliance to our standards and auditing agencies that come in to audit our programs in our biomed departments. So I have more complete records, they're more efficient, they're electronic, they're all available, detailed records to be able to be looked at and verified that my processes, that I'm doing what my procedures say, and that the results are within required standards, and I feel confident that my program is working correctly and efficiently. It's also a great tool for any investigations that have to be done on particular medical devices. If you have a patient incident that has to be investigated, it's much more efficient, much more thorough, and gives us a lot more confidence to be able to go to our history records, electronic history records, and look at the history of that device, investigate it for ourselves from a biomed point of view. Has this device had any kind of track record that may have contributed to that patient incident? And if it did, it helps you analyze that. And if we're looking at that history, it also allows us to have validation that, look, we've been maintaining this piece of equipment properly. It hasn't had any track record of incidents. So it helps have correct and accurate information to help provide clear direction on how best to investigate and draw conclusions on that patient incident. So having the ability to recall that history can be really helpful. So we're introducing an app that we think will contribute to this with our test equipment. We call it LinksIt. It is the app that connects to your smart device that wirelessly links your test equipment to your smart device and to your CMMS. So how does it work? From a top level point of view, what it is you would load the LinksIt app onto your smart device. So you don't have to have a proprietary device to run it. You're going to use your smart device that maybe you're already utilizing today in your job. And you would use the scan function that's built into the app, which activates the camera, and it allows me to scan the asset ID of the medical device I'm going to service. So if your facility is using asset IDs, tags, you could scan that asset ID. It's going to then open up a PM checklist that was imported from your CMMS. So there's a number of CMMS companies out there that have a nice feature that allow you to create and make PM checklists. And these PM checklists are really helpful because it allows me to basically have an electronic procedure on what needs to be done on a particular medical device to do the service. So I've imported this checklist into my app, my LinksIt app, and now I could view it here and I could follow the steps that it requires me to do to perform the service for that device, for this medical device. So I'm looking at the complete checklist for that device, and I'm just going to walk through those steps, doing the steps that are required of me to feel confident that I've checked and inspected this device properly. And these PM checklists are, like I said, come from your CMMS system. They could be short, long. They're completely tailored in your CMMS and then pushed out to the Linksit app. Once you've completed that PM checklist on Linksit, it will generate an electronic record. And the record would be all of the steps that were required of me to verify the performance of that device. And it also has header information in there about who I am and who did the test. And if there's any test equipment tests that need to be run, it captures that data into the record as well. So it allows you to capture all that from your smart device. So going into the checklist a little bit more and how it interacts. So Linksit, of course, is running on your smart device and gives you a good graphical way to look at each step of your PM checklist. And then what we also did is we allowed it to communicate to prompt test equipment via Bluetooth. And so depending on what the requirement is within my checklist, if it requires the test equipment to perform a particular function, like in this case, in step 4, it wants me to, this particular PM checklist wants me to run a electrical safety test that's defined as a particular sequence number, A8, and the test has a name that's generally referred to here as an NFPA, and it's basically a device with no leads. And so I would basically get to that test point in the checklist, and then the Linksit app will send a command to the safety analyzer telling it to run that specific sequence from the checklist. The analyzer would run that sequence, run all of those tests required, collect the information, and then it would via Bluetooth send back those test results. It would acknowledge automatically whether those test results were all within past limits, or if it would fail, it would display failed here. And then it also records the date and the time that we actually did the test. So it allows me to capture a timestamp and the data of all of the tests that I ran. And it does this all behind the scenes automatically via Bluetooth. Now, once I've completed the test, Linksit automatically generates and stores a complete record of the tests that were done. And you can see an example of the report here. At the top of the report, you have the facility name, which I can edit. The technician, of course, I'll use for configurable fields. In the settings section of the Linksit app, I have a time and a date stamp here. I have the asset ID of the device I tested. And then below that is my PM procedure, my PM checklist. And these are from your CMMS, and this particular device has a set of steps that it wants me to do to verify performance of this device. And in this case, you can see the steps here. Check the power cord, cables, and leads. And if I verify all that and everything's working, I would enter in a pass or a fail here. And so for each step, it's telling me to perform a particular function. And these instructions can be short, they can be long. It's up to you and how you want to define them. If there is a specific test involving a piece of test equipment, the Linksit app will communicate to the prompt test equipment and tell it to go run, in this case, a ECG test of 90 beats per minute. And then here I can enter in my result. So for each step in the checklist, I could run that step with the test equipment that I need to. The test equipment runs that test, and I can enter in that result here because, of course, in this case, if I'm referring to a vital signs monitor, my result is on the device itself. So I'm going to, as a technician, look at the quality of the result on that device, verify it's within specification, and then note the actual result. And I could do that for the other parameters that are required here as well, SpO2 and IBP. And when I get to a particular step that requires kind of an automated sequence with a piece of test equipment, in this case, it wants to run an electrical safety auto sequence. The report also captures some added information. It captures information about the test equipment that we used. It captures the model of the test equipment, the serial number. We also added the ability to enter in your own asset tag number for the test equipment. So if you're using specific asset tag ID system to track your test equipment inventory, you could enter that in here as well. And we also included a calibration date of the test equipment. So this record here shows that this safety analyzer, the safety sim, was calibrated on April 26, 2019. So it allows my record, my electronic record now here, to know that the equipment I use was within its calibration cycle. So I know I was using good calibrated test equipment, and it's annotated into the record. We actually went a step further. Our customers asked us, hey, can you give me the ability to prompt a technician to know that, hey, the test equipment is due for calibration? So on a safety sim, we added a feature recently where it will prompt a user when the calibration cycle is within 30 days of the next cal cycle to know that, hey, the unit's getting close to calibration, it's time to send it in for recal. Because of course, the last thing we want to do is be using test equipment that's out of cal. That makes our whole quality system kind of up in the air and doesn't allow us to be compliant to all our requirements. So you don't really want to be using test equipment out of cal. So we added that feature to it. Actually, we actually have another level that can be programmed by the user, to which if once the unit gets beyond its calibration cycle, and you define the cycle, the unit will come up and say, oh, this unit is beyond its calibration cycle, and it will not allow the technician to perform another test. Again, this is user configurable if you want to have that feature or not, but if you want to have that extra assurance that a piece of test equipment was not used beyond its calibration cycle, we've incorporated that in there too. So trying to create protections and safeguards so that you feel confident that the quality of your record is within compliance of all your requirements. Below here, you'll see that it also tells you the test that it ran for this electrical safety auto sequence. It tells you the condition, the power voltage at the time of the test, how much current the unit we tested drew, and then here's the individual tests here. So you have ground resistance test. It passed that ground resistance test. Here's my measurement, 92 milliohms. And then in parentheses is my test limit. So I know exactly what my standard is, and this unit, of course, was within that limit. And then below that, you have all of your other tests that were required to be run for this particular sequence, all user customizable. And so you could define these, how to meet your protocols and your standards. But in this case, these are the tests that were run. Here's the measured values for the tests. And again, here's the test limits for the particular setup that we have for this auto sequence. And what's nice is that this Links app will store up to 1,000 records. So you have the ability to just do all your tests, generate your reports, just keep going, store as many as you need to, up to 1,000. And then in batches, or if individually, you could transfer them to your CMMS. So you don't have to do them one at a time. You just store them as you go. And then when you're ready, or you're done for the day, or done for the week, you could just transfer all of those completed records up to your CMMS, or you can retain them on your phone if you want. So the records are always there on your smart device. Another feature that a lot of customers suggested that we add, and we thought it was a really good idea, was the ability to have a convenient way to print a PM sticker. Of course, we all deal with PM stickers every day, and there's a variety of different methods people go about managing PM stickers. And what do I put on the PM sticker? Which one do I use? Do I buy a blank roll and I fill them in as I go? Do I have pre-printed labels? So it's a big task, is my understanding, and a big cost in trying to manage PM stickers. So what we did is we added the capability into Links to connect the Bluetooth printer to it, so you could print a laminated PM sticker. So this PM sticker is user configurable. So in the middle here, you can see the window for formatting my PM sticker within the Links app, and I have the ability to define the fields I want on the sticker. I could define whether I want the asset ID to be printed on there. If I have a next inspection interval that I want that date to be automatically added to the label, I could program that interval, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, or 24 months. So I could decide, oh, I want the label to automatically print the next cal date based on the interval I define here. I have a title, which is an open field, and I could define that title field to be any free text I want to. A facility name, of course, technician, any other general text type message, and this is a free field. I could fill in any information I want here. If I have specific information that I want to always be on the PM sticker, the date of inspection. So what was the date that we recorded that checklist that was completed? It will automatically be populated. If I want the tag to also say pass or fail, I can have it do that. And if I happen to have tested a device that failed, of course, I don't want to put it back into service, so I can actually have a customizable text field here that would print out a label with that defined text. So if I wanted to print out saying, hey, the device is defective, don't use it, it's out of service, or whatever information I generally want to have on a unit that shouldn't be put back into service, I can have that printed as well. And of course, you would just define what you want printed by these sliders here. Sliding it green enables that field. And I can also control the order of the information that goes on the PM sticker. So we try to give you flexibility to create the PM sticker and have it affixed in an easy way in the format you want to. So these PM stickers are available in multiple colors by this vendor that we're using, that we're partnering with. It's a brother Bluetooth printer label maker. And what's nice about it is that it's laminated, which I understand is an important thing, because oftentimes we're generating PM stickers and I'm writing down my name, I'm writing down the date that I did it, maybe some other information. But I need to protect that ink, because if I don't, and the clinician or the next technician needs to clean that unit, and they wipe over that label, then all my text vanishes, and I don't have really a good label anymore. So because it's a laminated label, it's already kind of protected, saves you that extra little hassle of having to put something over your label to protect it, and maybe tape. I've seen some people put tape, clear tape over it, something over the label so that it doesn't get wiped off when I'm doing the cleaning. So it's a nice, convenient way. It runs on batteries. They've made some custom drivers for us that allows you to pair it to the Linkset app directly pretty easily. And so it's a really kind of a convenient option we think will help streamline that process as well. So we've kind of given you a brief introduction of how the Linkset app works. And what I want to do here is kind of do a quick little demonstration of how the app actually functions to do the test. So this is kind of the menu, what we call the checklist menu within the app, that allows you to kind of see the checklist you're going to run. In this case, of course, we're going to start a test, so we don't have anything here. And what I'm going to do is at the top left here, you kind of see something that looks like a barcode symbol. I'm going to press that symbol, and it's going to turn on the scan function of the app, turn on your camera, and allows me to scan the asset ID of the device I'm testing. And so what it does is it's going to scan that asset ID of the device, and it's going to associate it with the PM checklist procedure that it corresponds to. So in this case, here's the ID of the device. It says checklist : to the right is the ID, that asset ID I just scanned, and it pulled open a PM checklist procedure for that device. In this case, it's a EKG machine. And so here you can see it gives me the steps I need to follow for this particular device. And again, it could be as long as short as I want. You define that checklist. It allows me to utilize the criteria I need to fill in for that particular item. And here I have the ability to pass it or fail it and enter in any comments. And so if I have, and I would just follow that procedure. In this case, I passed it, but I happened to needed to change the power cord. So if I needed to, or I'm required to, I could document the fact that I did replace that power cord into that field to go on to the next step in the checklist. I'm just going to follow my procedure to complete the checklist. If I have a simulation test to do, the command goes out to the safety sim to run that simulation, and it will go ahead and do that. And then I can record my result back I see on that EKG machine. So I would perform those tests, hit next to go on to the next step. So it allows me to have a nice regimented procedure in front of me and a convenient tool, my smart device, to do the test. When I get to an auto sequence, in this case it's going to an electrical safety auto sequence, it's going to send that command to the safety analyzer and initiate the test. And you can kind of see in the window here right below the stop key, it's running a test, and it's the predefined test, and it's running the test, recording the measured leakage, and it has at the bottom here how much current draw the device I'm testing has, the DUT, the device under test has. So it's going to run all these tests, get all the data, and start storing it. Once it's complete, it goes back to my checklist. Like, it kind of finishes with the test equipment. It says, okay, go back and finish your checklist. And you can see here, it records that the device passed that electrical safety test that it needed to. So it automatically records that. It puts the date and time on there as well, so that I have that as part of my record. So it does that, and now I can go on to the next step. in this case, this is a programmable field that allows me to enter in comments. So you could choose to have this field or not. It's up to you to configure it, whether you want to do that. And so up here, I can enter in text. I could do it in a couple ways. I could do it by just manually typing in the information I have, or you'll see that this scan function also appears on each line that has a field to enter in data. So I can actually hit that scan function, and it will actually turn on the scanner again of my Linkset app. And why can this be helpful? This could be helpful because it allows me, if I work for a organization that wants me to have standardized text. So customers suggested we do this. I think it was a great idea. So let's say I want to have standardized text on my reports. Let's say just a summary at the end. Oh, I did a certain series of things. The device is ready to go back to service on the clinical floor. So you can create QR codes, barcodes of text. So you have kind of a roadmap technicians could use of standardized text that you want to have on the reports. In this case, here's the text that I want to have electronically transferred via the QR code here. I have the QR code here kind of covered. You can kind of see it at the top of the screen here. And I'm going to uncover that QR code, and you'll see that it immediately scans it, and it allows that text information to now get into the Linkset app, and it's now been recorded and transferred over here. So now I have my standardized text there, and it's helpful because sometimes I may not spell things very well. I know I'm not real good at spelling properly, and so it just gives me a good way to feel confident that I've captured the information properly. I've closed that checklist, it's saved it, and then I can go on to the next test. I can also go to the review page if I wanted to, which I can just review the results of the test that I just did. So here is kind of the electronic report that's been stored onto the Linkset app. You can see here at the top is that header information we discussed earlier, the facility technician, date and time, the asset ID of the device I tested. Here's my PM checklist procedure of what I'm supposed to do, all the recorded information. Here's the automated electrical safety auto sequence that needed to be run. And here's all of my data corresponding to that. And then I have a result here that tells me that it passed. So I know that not only did my checklist items pass, but also my automated electrical safety test passed. I have the comments field enabled, and you can kind of see here now that QR code that I scanned actually scanned automatically this information right into my report here. So it allows me to capture that information nice, neatly, and professionally, and I know that everything's spelled properly. And here you have an optional field, another optional field where you can turn on the elapsed time, and the Linkset app will automatically calculate how long did it take to run this checklist. In this case, of course, I ran through it a little too quick since we're doing demonstration here, but allows you to kind of capture that time, and it can be beneficial. So if you want to try to do a time study of what's the average time it takes to do a PM, so that as a management team, you can make sure you're allocating enough time for your technicians to do the work. I think it could be a helpful tool. So this is here, it's stored, like I said, up to 1,000 records, and I can transfer anytime I need to. So how do I transfer to and from my CMMS? The Linkset app is supporting CMMS systems that utilize the MT export checklist file format, MT import file format for the completed checklists. So there's a number of CMS companies out there, Metamizer, Accruent, and others, that have this nice feature that allows you to create these electronic checklists. And so you have the ability to export these checklists to the Linkset app, and we can push and pull data to our app and back to your CMS. We're utilizing the latest share functions within the Apple iOS operating system. That is the highest demand we've heard in terms of having the Linkset app ready. So our initial release will be to iOS systems, and definitely gonna do other operating systems as well. But this is the one in highest demand. So we're gonna be utilizing all of the share functions available that allow you to save to a variety of different ways, including being able to save to a cloud drive, if you're utilizing that to share data, Dropbox, OneDrive, things like that. If you want a more basic way to transfer data, also you're able to utilize the mail service available on the Apple device to be able to do that. And for folks who want to do it even a more basic way, we've incorporated compatibility to kind of a dual function flash drive that has a USB port on one side and a Lightning port on the other side that allows you to transfer the data from your PC to this flash drive, connect that same flash drive to your Lightning port, and you can automatically pull and push data via that method as well. So a more basic way you could push and pull data so we can try to fulfill different needs for different customers. So what if I'm not currently using a CMMS, or maybe my CMMS doesn't have the checklists or doesn't have the ability to transfer data in this way? So Linksit can be utilized with legacy checklists as well. Maybe you have checklists from a prior CMMS, but your current CMMS doesn't support those checklists. Well, if you still have them, you can still load them onto the Linksit app. I've met with many customers who spent countless hours developing these PM checklist procedures that were not able to be kind of transferred over to the new database, or maybe they don't have a database anymore, but they still want to utilize these checklists because they took a lot of time to create them. So you can still load those and run those on the Linksit app. We also will support generic checklists, maybe that you want to create and have that are not associated with an asset ID. It could be just more basic checklists that you want to have that are more general. And so you could have a basic defibrillator test. It's kind of a general test, a light exam, general test. And so whatever generic checklist you want to create and have, you can run those on the Linksit app. You can manually select a checklist for those who don't have barcode asset tags on their medical devices or don't have them associated with the checklist. You could just use the search function, manually search for the proper checklist and run it. So you don't have to utilize the barcode scan feature if you're not using barcodes. The Linksit app will include, as a factory default, some basic generic checklist by device type. So we have created generic checklists that we're going to preload onto the app, so you have something you can use even if you don't have a CMMS system. And this is nice. The nice thing about this is you can keep adding to that generic checklist. So it's not something that's fixed. We can keep adding more to it as we need to. The electronic report capability is still available, and so you still have the ability to save those records onto the app. You can send them in single record or in batches up to 1,000 records if you want to kind of combine them together. You can run also the Linksit app to just do a basic safety test. If you want to just do a safety test on a device that maybe doesn't have a checklist or doesn't need to have a checklist associated with it, you want to just do an incoming inspection and capture a safety test, you could run just that by itself, scan the asset ID, it will run the electrical safety auto sequence that corresponds to the device you're testing, generate a report and store it on there as well. So you can use it as a standalone function as well. And then we've incorporated copy paste features if you want to just take the data and move it to a different template, print it, email features that allow you to email it as text or a PDF so that you could push it to another database or another file system that you may be utilizing. So we've been testing this app for quite some time. We've partnered with quite a number of facilities nationwide. And they've been beta testing this app for the past 14 months. We've been adding features as we go along, and it's really been working well. Our beta users have successfully transferred over 11,000 completed PM checklists over to their CMS successfully, and they've really found great results with it, not only from the Linksit app, but being able to utilize a safety analyzer that's small, portable, just makes things more efficient and being able to move around and get your work done. So we've learned also from having our beta testers that there's actually been different use models, and even though you have these PM checklists, not everyone uses it in the same way. We have customers that have utilized it in a real live bi-directional kind of method, whereas you have your scheduled work orders that you want to push out for the week or maybe for the month, and that's the data you export to Linksit. You run your work for that week or month, and then once you're complete, you transfer those completed work orders back. So that's kind of the bi-directional method. But we've also had customers that utilize it slightly differently, where they don't push out required work to be done for the week or the month. They just always have every single PM checklist loaded on to the app, and they just always reside there. So the technician would just go scan the device or manually select a checklist, whatever they prefer, and complete that checklist, and then they would just be pushing completed checklists back to their CMS, or back to a PC folder, however they're choosing to transfer the data. And then there's other situations where maybe you're needing to test a device where it's not in your inventory. It's not a scheduled device that's in your work orders, or it's not in your inventory. Maybe you went to a site and you have a device there that you didn't have last year. The hospital bought something new that wasn't in your inventory. And so you need to be able to capture it. So you have the ability to turn on other fields to capture other pieces of information for devices that may be not in your inventory. So I could enable and enter in the manufacturer, model, serial number of the device. If I'm capturing operator code, I could do that, type, location, control number, so that I'm sure I can tie things together once I push them back to my CMMS. And of course, you have other fields you can enable if you want your technicians to be entering other information, such as comments, if you want to have the next due date of the device there, user time, if you want to capture that information. So there's definitely been various use models that we find that Linksit has worked in. So it's been really a valuable lesson for us in understanding just how many different ways people utilize their test equipment and their data. And there's not one way to basically do a service. There's many different ways that work best for different organizations. And so we want to provide the flexibility for you to use it the way you need to. And we've had a lot of customers beta testing this. Specifically, Desco Medical has been really helpful to us. Ignacio and his team has really provided us a lot of great mentoring and coaching for us on processes that service technicians go through and some of the challenges. And they've been utilizing it now for quite some time and find it very beneficial to them in improving their workflow. So what's the next step? This is just the beginning for us in developing this app and other features and capabilities. The beauty of having an app that resides on your smart device is it's easy for us to continue to expand it, add more automation features and capabilities. You don't have to worry about having these kind of features integrated into your test equipment because it makes it more challenging to manage. If I introduce a new feature that's embedded in my test equipment and I want to get it out to the market, well, how am I going to logistically do that? I have to either send the unit back to be serviced. I have to find a way to remotely update the unit. But by being able to utilize an app, it gives me much more flexibility as a manufacturer and much more benefit as a user, because as I have more features available, we can just push them out to our users. You can just update the app and they're there. So there's no need to be concerned that you're having an app that has limitations and it's kind of a closed loop. It's kind of a closed box and I can't keep expanding it and improving it. So as we add more features and capabilities, those features and capabilities will keep getting pushed out to our users. There's not going to be any added cost for these extra features. So we think this platform will really be a benefit to everyone in having flexibility and room to grow and not feeling like you have a device that has limitations and an end of life because it's a fixed set of features that can't be modified or expanded upon. We're working with additional CMMS vendors to incorporate other interfaces. Depending on the CMMS vendor, there's different methods that they utilize to transfer information. So we don't want to have just one method to support. We're going to support a variety of other interfaces. So we're working with all the top CMMS companies out there to provide additional solutions to best fit varying needs people have to move data. And really, we're looking to partner with the entire HTM community and CMMS companies, really trying to work towards establishing a standard communications protocol for us. You know, medical devices have a standard communications protocol, which allows them to communicate back and forth across the hospital network seamlessly and transfer information. But unfortunately for us, we're still a little bit behind and we don't have that standardization yet between our test equipment and our CMMS systems. And so each kind of system, each kind of company has their kind of unique features within their communications protocol that make it more difficult, or more challenging, I should say, to do a connection, to do an interface. And so it kind of makes it complicated for me as a end user, for me as a biomed organization, a hospital organization, to have integration of my test equipment to my CMMS platforms and to be able to move data, collect data, share data. And I think by trying to work towards establishing a universal standard, it's just going to benefit everyone. It's going to benefit the end users, of course, by having a more seamless way to do integration of a variety of test equipment. It doesn't have to always be the same manufacturer. It can be a variety of manufacturers across into my CMMS platform. So instead of having a closed loop where I can only integrate manufacturer A into my CMMS, really we should be working towards integrating all of us into a common communications protocol. And so we're excited to try to partner with the entire community to try to strive towards working towards that. Our product development philosophy has always been a grassroots effort. So we always really partner with hospital organizations, independent service organizations across the country to have them teach us what is the best tool that would meet your needs. And we take that philosophical approach with all of our equipment we design, and we've taken that same approach with our Linksit app and all of our future development. We'll always take into account, well, what do you think is best for us to do? We really try to avoid telling you what this is best, because you know what's best, you know what works, you know what you need. And so we really appreciate and value the partnership we have with the HTM community in developing products. So we definitely want to hear from you. We want to put this app out into the market to really, I think it will benefit all of our customers, benefit you in being able to streamline your testing, but it doesn't end there. We want to hear from you. What should we do next? What should we keep adding? What should we be expanding? This platform, like I said, gives us a lot of flexibility to continue to develop it, expand its features, and make sure that it's a tool that works great for you today, but tomorrow, because your needs today may be one thing, but tomorrow, as we know, our market evolves tremendously. It changes. One day you may be using one system, the next day you may be upgrading to another one, and so your technology needs to be able to move with you and expand and modify. So we really have a lot of excitement about this approach, and we think it'll benefit our customers across the board. So if you have any questions in particular about Linksit and how we can help you integrate it into your CMMS, please feel free to reach out to us and contact us. We're excited about this, and like I said, we want to partner with you, and we think this solution will really benefit you in being able to streamline your work, generate electronic reports in a seamless way, try to cut down on the administrative time our technicians have to spend in transcribing information into my CMMS, all that administrative time that can be reduced so that we could be more focused on doing what we enjoy to do and what we do best, which is to service and maintain all the medical devices on the market. So please contact us. We'd be happy to talk. Thanks very much.
Great, thank you so much, Julio. We've got a few questions that have come in. The first question is there a charge and or a license fee for this app?
Great question. Yeah, we understand that that's a big point of frustration for our customers. So there is no license fee for this app. So if you purchase our products, the app comes with the product, and you can have as many licenses as you need. So even if you buy one product, you can have 20, 30, 50 licenses. There's no limit on licenses. There's no license fee that you have to pay. As we add features to the app, there's not going to be a charge for those added features. So it's not something we want to do. We don't want to have that burden on our customers to feel like what they buy today is not going to be able to grow with them in the future. So no, we're not going to be having any license fees.
Great, that's fantastic. Another question is, are there any users currently using the Linksit?
Yes, we have a wide range of users already using it for beta, and we've expanded it now, and we want to introduce it to the market as we think we're ready. And they've been successfully transferring checklists back and forth, completed work orders, been working closely with Minimizer and Accruent to do this, and other databases that are utilizing those MT import and export formatted checklists. And yeah, it's working really well. And we're definitely looking forward to partnering with other CMMS companies to make that happen as well.
Okay, so is Prompt working with Nuvolo to automatically share data and capture results directly into work orders?
Yes, of course, there's a number of CMMS companies out there. Nuvolo is, of course, seems to be a real popular CMMS system. And we have designed a framework to be able to interface between our software programs. So we've developed an interface between the two databases. We have a prototype custom software that we've working with Nuvolo to test that will provide seamless sharing of data directly between the two programs. So we're excited about that interface and others similar to that with other CMMS companies as well.
Okay, that's great. Another question is, can the facility name be set from within the app or only from settings?
Yeah, within the app, you have the ability to configure the facility name, the technician, and those things within the app. It is in the settings of the app, but it is within the app. Also, for the PM sticker, you have the ability to customize that the same or different if you have different information you want to have on the PM sticker.
Okay. How do we start the conversation with admins or decision makers on CMMS integration with equipment and convince them the value of this data?
Definitely, it's a great question, complicated question in the sense that, I think that you have to be able to show value for what you're spending in your test equipment, spending in your CMMS. And I think the value really comes in, number one, in being able to show that I can be more proficient. I can be more efficient in my work. I can be more consistent in the service I'm providing because I have a procedure that I'm following that is my procedure. We've developed it, we've approved it. And it takes out the having to recall element out of my work. I know I can do the work with confidence because I have my procedure always in front of me to complete it. So I think the efficiency in Linksit has the ability to help show management that I can actually be more efficient and complete and accurate with the work I'm doing by having this sort of application. And I think also just the thoroughness of the work performed by being able to have electronic report. I think for all of our sakes, being able to be confident that I did the work properly and completely by having electronic record, I think is an important thing. But at the end of the day, I think it's showing, like anything else, I think in life, we have to be able to show value as biomedical engineers, as healthcare organizations, that we could be proficient, thorough, and effective. And I think technology, similar to how it's done it for electronic health records in making things more efficient, it's the same concept here with the test equipment. You're trying to combine things to make them more efficient, more complete, more precise. So I think looking at it from an electronic healthcare record point of view may be a method to try to show value. And I think people within healthcare organizations and independent source organizations will see that streamlining things to be consistent and precise is a good strategy to try to use to try to convince folks, hey, we should really venture and invest in this technology. This is the direction to go. It's just going to make us better overall as a hospital or a service organization.
Okay, that's great. Another question here is from an attendee. Are there offline features to the app? We work with retirement communities that do not always have Wi-Fi and are often in areas where wireless internet can be spotty.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely something that's true. Even within a facility, depending on where you are, Wi-Fi can be very limited, and that's why we decided to use Bluetooth technology between the test equipment and the app. That way, that's something that doesn't require any kind of internet service, and being able to store the records onto your smart device, they're just there. That way you don't have to have a live connection at all times. The records are just there. And once you get to a location where you have service, then you could do the transfer of the record. So you don't need to have Wi-Fi. You don't need to be connected live to Linksit in order to collect data or be able to communicate to the test equipment. So you definitely want to avoid you being down because you don't have Wi-Fi.
Great, that's fantastic. Does PRONC have test equipment to PM, ESUs and DFibs? If not, are there plans to market such test equipment?
The golden question. I can tell you that our mission in life is to be able to provide solutions across all modalities of test equipment that's necessary for biomed to use. And our engineering team is always working closely on the next tool that they're going to introduce into the market. And so our mission is to definitely have everything you possibly need. But of course, our owner moved engineering to Hawaii, so he's very much remote from us now. In his lab, he refuses to let salespeople in. So I'm not exactly sure what's next, but I can assure you we are working on the next tool that we think will benefit you in many ways. But they won't tell me what it is yet. But I know something new is coming pretty soon, so stay tuned.
Okay, another question about the app. How long till we see the app for Android?
Android, yeah, we're working with Android. There's definitely some mixed results we've heard so far from a security standpoint and Android devices. So we're trying to find the best way to implement those. Once we have that figured out, we'll definitely roll that out. But I think that's been some of the challenges we've heard back from some facilities is Android has some security risks, and so we're trying to analyze how best to deal with those. And we don't really have that concern from customers that are using Apple devices since it's a more closed system, so to speak, operating system. And that's why Apple has been more widely adopted across healthcare organizations. So we're definitely working on Android. And once we figure out what our customers need in terms of security levels, because that doesn't seem to be consistent, we'll be rolling that out as well.
Okay, that's great. We've got time for one more question. Can Prompt provide test procedures to their customers?
Yeah, that's something I've heard a number of times across our marketplace is one of the toughest challenges is being able to actually create the procedure. What is the procedure? How do I get them? With thousands of devices out there, it can be quite challenging to document all this. And so we're talking to a couple companies out there that are specializing in creating electronic procedures. And so we're trying to work through that and partner with some people to try to create those and make those available. The tricky part with that, of course, is making sure that they're current, up to date, and that they meet whatever your standard is, which may be exactly what the manufacturer requires, or may be an alternative equipment maintenance program. So we're definitely looking into how best to do that. There's a couple different methods we're evaluating, and so we're hoping to come up with something here pretty soon on how we could help you have already pre-packaged electronic procedures.
That's great. We're actually coming up to our hour. So for the attendees that have submitted questions, I will be sending them to Julio to answer offline. So look out for an email from him. So thank you, Julio, for a great and informative webinar. And thank you again to today's sponsor, Prompt Technologies. Just a reminder to our attendees that the post-webinar survey and certificate process is now automated. So the survey link will be included in the follow-up email, which you'll receive in about an hour's time. Once you've completed the survey, you'll be able to download your certificate immediately. And one lucky attendee will also win an Amazon gift card just for completing the survey. If you have any questions, please contact us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. For more information about our upcoming webinars, please visit our website, webinarwednesday.live. So thank you once again to everybody who attended today, and to thank you again, Julio. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we hope to see you again next week.
Thank you very much.